It says from Sportsnet Central host and broadcaster Ken Reid comes an inspiring and entertaining new collection of hockey stories about local legends who define the game and its values. It's not Simon and Simon or Wayne and Schuster. Simon and Schuster's what the publisher is, and Ken Reid joins us right now. Where on the planet are you, Ken?
I'm in my studio in Toronto, Sheldon, a long way from Pictou. But yeah, I like how we lined this up. We went through our people, didn't we?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't think you were still on X
yeah,
or
yeah.
Twitter.
By going through our people, I mean we just messaged each other 2 hours ago, something like
Pretty
that.
much,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's how to do it.
You know what? This world is so much smaller, but it's so hard to get heard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about here. Like
Yes.
there's so many voices out there right now that don't have to rely on, you know, a big multinational corporation and a fellow like yourself who has a passion for something as remarkable as the sport of hockey. You can put together a book, put it out, and people want to buy it. Congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. It's yeah. This is it's. I'm kind of overwhelmed, to be honest. I always looked at books on the Toronto Best Star bestseller list and went, wow, how do you get there? And this one's on it, and I'm kind of going, wow, how did I get there? So it's funny, when you talk to players or whatever, and they go, "Oh, I owe a lot to my teammates." Oh, I do. Everyone at Simon and Schuster's been awesome, so they've pumped this up big time. And you know me, I'm never publicity shy. I love talking, but this one, it's clicking with people. It's resonating, which I really enjoy.
Ken Reid's Hometown Hockey Heroes. It's where you buy books, and I got to say, your passion for the sport is just it's undeniable. And I'm not going to say anything about your previous books being about hockey cards because there were stories there and a
Yeah,
passion there.
yeah.
So is it a natural extension that you just decided that the stories from these players needed to be told?
Well, for the hockey cards, right? We just dropped the line before we came on talking to each other. My favorite audio slave line, and I always use it for prospective journalists: "To be yourself is all that you can do. So be yourself." I'm a hockey card guy, so I wrote about hockey cards. I'm a dreamer, so I wrote about guys playing only one game in the NHL. And I'm a small town guy who grew up loving the Pictou Mariners, the Junior C champs 4 years in a row in the mid '80s. So why not write about that? And it all came from just doing what you know. And in Pictou, there's a guy named Teapot, Dana Johnson, Teapot. Everybody in Pictou knows who T is, and he was the Junior C hero in the mid '80s. I was 10. He was maybe 18, 19, 20. He was racking up the goals. And Sheldon, in Pictou, I mean, you could get Guy Lafleur's hockey card and you could watch him on Hockey Night in Canada. But you couldn't go down and pat him on the shoulder when he went out onto the ice. But you could do that with Teapot and the Pictou Mariners. So these guys made just as big an impact on me and my love for the game as the Montreal Canadiens did or the Edmonton Oilers did. And T is still a legend in town. I mean, there's T-shirts printed up in town. It just says the legend. There's a picture of T on it. I own one of them. And he's just a guy that he's the best at golf. He's the best at hockey. He's the best at baseball. And I thought every town's got to have a hero like this, because not most of us didn't grow up just going to the Maple Leaf Gardens on Saturday nights. So I kind of threw it out there, and boom, names just started flying at me on Twitter, X as they call it now. And this immediately clicked with people because they grew up watching their senior team, their juvenile team, their junior team. In New Waterford, they talk about Bruce Campbell. In Summerside, they talk about Pinky Gallant. Over in Newfoundland, they talk about Robbie Forbes. And it's amazing to me that there are men out there who made a huge impact on fans, who solidified their love of the game and really don't even know that they did it. So this book's kind of a salute to them and go, hey, did you know you did this? And they kind of go, what? So it's pretty cool that way.
Were you able to speak to everyone that you wrote about?
Pretty much. Some of the guys had passed away, but in cases like that, I talked to their family. But the way I started it was by talking to their fans. So kind of how it went was I put it out on Twitter, and I remember someone wrote to me going, "Oh, Bruce Campbell in New Waterford was the guy for the Junior A New Waterford Jets. He was the best." So I called this gentleman up who nominated Bruce, and he told me all these stories. He's like, "You should talk to my buddy so and so. He watched him too." I talked to his buddy. Then I'd call Bruce, and he'd say, "Really? The kids were paying that much attention?" I'd get his side of the story. And Sheldon, what made this cool was I couldn't just sit back and rely on Hockey DB. It was almost like a folklore book. There's some newspaper articles on some of the guys from back in the day, but a lot of it is folklore, and it was my kind of job to take the folklore and kind of maybe lay out what the facts are, and maybe sprinkle a little folklore in there as well, because as you know, when you're 10 years old and you're watching a guy in your local rink, in your eyes, that guy's golden. But what did he look like for the eyes of a 30-year-old? He probably looked like an 18-year-old guy out there playing junior C. But in my eyes, he looked like a hockey hero. So I take it from the vantage point of the 10-year-old then, who's the 40-year-old talking about his hockey hero now, and then I rack it off the guy who in some cases might be 65, 70 years old going, really? The kids watched me back then?
So many of the stories become legend, but then again, I'm wondering if you had anyone say, "Well, the game's not the same," or
Oh,
you know, reflecting on how things are. Either they were tougher then, or maybe it's easier now, or the players are different. I'm just curious about that.
for sure. I mean, there was one game on TV a week then, right? So we all went to our local rink to cheer on our hometown hero, whether they were junior C, B, A, major, junior, senior. That's lost on a lot of us now. We sit at home with the center ice package or tune into Sportsnet weeknight and watch the games, right? So I hope that in a lot of cases, maybe this will. It takes, you know me. I'm a hockey romantic. Maybe people will read this and want to get out and go say, you know what, I should go watch the Halifax Max at the Forum. I should do that. I should go watch the. I don't even know if they're still called the Dartmouth Subways, but I should go watch the Dartmouth Subways. I should go watch, the Truro Bearcats or the Pictou Weeks Crushers. Get out and you. I bet you 50 cents you'll be enthralled by a kid on that team. You'll watch that kid and take your kids because that'll give them a guy that's right in front of them as opposed to a guy who's just on TV.
Don't forget the South Shore Lumberjacks. But
Don't forget the South Shore Lumberjack.
you know,
Exactly.
exactly. So, what's your earliest rink memory?
Yeah. Honestly, my earliest rink memory would be at the Hector Arena in Pictou, skating with my dad on Saturdays. But one of my most vivid memories was after I started my first year hockey. We played right before public skating started. And after hockey, I went back into my dressing room, but then the public skating started. And I had to figure out, well, how am I going to get to the front of the Hector Arena to pay for public skating? Being the moral young man I was, I thought if I stepped on the ice, I was trespassing or cheating. So I crawled on my hands and knees in my Orbit skates back in the old alley behind the dressing rooms up to the front and paid my 50 cents. And then I went skating. So that's one of my earliest memories from the Hector Arena. But the other memories from the Hector Arena are just being a kid, being 9 years old and running down there. We lived on Patterson Street, just up from the rink, and running down the hill on a Saturday night with my brother, my buddy David Clark, my buddy Mark Barone. I mean, you're talking, we're 9 and 10, and it's free for all. It's Saturday night. The parents aren't there with us, and it's a dollar or 50 cents to get in, 50 cents for a program, 50 cents for 2 packs of hockey cards, and away we go. And the only rule that Dr. Dan had, the old man had, listen, don't go down by the far end by the Zamboni. And you know why? Because that's where the funny smoke was, and the bottles would fly down on the ice sometimes. So you knew where not to go.
It's so many great stories. Do you have a favorite in the book? I know people have to go buy the book to find all
Yeah,
the stories, but is there one that stands out?
man, I don't know if I could point out one. I guess for a maritime audience, one of the coolest stories was on a guy named Robbie Forbes who played at UNB. He was their scoring star. He played there for a year, set all these records, and he tried his hand at pro, and he ends up at Nova Scotia Oilers camp. This is like spring of '85, I think it was, or pardon me, fall of '85. He's dazzling. He's doing well for the Nova Scotia Oilers, and then the Oilers go, we're sending down Max Biddendorf. We don't need this small, undersized, offensively flared center with a Jofa helmet and a left-handed shot because the Oilers are kind of deep on guys like that. I think you know what I'm talking about, Gretzky. So he ends up going to Newfoundland, and the mission is the Corner Brook Royals lost the previous year in the Allen Cup final, Canadian Senior Championship. The mission is we are going to win the Allen Cup at all costs. They bring in Robbie Forbes. He's new to Newfoundland. He's living in Corner Brook, living not above, but below a bar. Um, they're playing the Stephenville Jets. There's brawls. There's all kinds of insanity. But this guy emerges as a scoring star, and he's still a legend in Corner Brook. On his Hockey DB page, he says he's from Corner Brook, and he doesn't mind that. And Robbie Forbes is one of the few guys I could actually find footage of. And I'm looking at it, and I go, and it's a wide shot of this Corner Brook game from 1985, and I go, that's Robbie Forbes. I know that that's Robbie Forbes. And it is because Robbie Forbes skates with his shoulders up high. His left-handed shot, his bottom hand is way up high. He's always going to the backhand. And I go, Robbie Forbes looks just like his nephew on the ice, and his nephew's Sidney Crosby. So that was really cool to me to see Sid's uncle as this star in Newfoundland in the 80s. And now Sidney Crosby, who looks and plays just like him, is, the best hockey player of our generation.
And just as an aside, I spoke with a woman today who's involved with a group called We Are Young. They grant seniors wishes. And there was a woman who knew Sidney Crosby's grandmother before she passed, had never gotten to meet the young man. And he went out of his way to get a jersey tour when he was in Halifax for the preseason game. So
Like, they're a beautiful family. And talking to Robbie, like, you see where Sid gets it. Just super modest, just great storyteller, great guy. And there's so many great stories. Bruce Campbell in Sydney was just a massive star. I'm actually going to be in Cape Breton signing books with Bruce. And the other timely one, Sheldon, is, I don't know if you saw this fight that went viral from a couple weeks ago in the American Hockey League, but it was Alex Gallant from Summerside playing for the Calgary Wranglers, and him and this other guy just go rock him, sock him. And I knew that that's how Alex went because I've watched Alex for a few years. And his dad used to tell him to go like that because his dad used to go like that in the junior and senior ranks in Summerside. And his name was Pinky Gallant. And Pinky is in the book. Pinky passed a few years ago. But one of my favorite things about the Pinky Gallant story is Gerard Gallant, a former NHL player and head coach, was the stick boy for Pinky Gallant's team in Summerside. And Gerard Gallant's favorite thing was on Sunday to watch Pinky Gallant fight Stevie Gallant when Summerside came to town. And neither Pinky, Stevie, or Gerard were related. How PEI is that?
well, just it's a maritime story.
It
It's a
sounds like
perfect
Pictou
maritime
County.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
absolutely.
buddy.
All right. Well, the book is available now. It's already a bestseller, and I wish you nothing but success. I know it's going to be a great tour out signing copies. Ken Reid's Hometown Hockey Heroes, published by Simon and Schuster. You can get it to Amazon, Indigo, and everywhere else they sell books. All the best, safe travels, and have fun tonight.
Thanks, Sheldon. You always got my back, buddy. It's always a pleasure talking to you, pal.